Welcome back to my Startup Success Series, where I cover the history and lessons from some of the world's leading companies. Today, I'll be talking about Uber, one of our very own Menlo Ventures portfolio companies. And we'll be hearing from Sean Carolyn, our managing partner and early investor in Uber.
Hi everybody, it's Sean in an Uber on my way to lunch here.
Uber's co-founders are Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp. Travis went on to become the CEO, but it was Garrett who had the initial idea for Uber. It was 2008, Garrett was living in San Francisco, and he was frustrated with how difficult it was to get around the city. And one night, he was inspired by the James Bond Casino Royale movie. There's a scene in that movie where James Bond is driving through the Bahamas and using his phone to track a car on a map. At the time, the iPhone had just been released. He realized that he had all the ingredients he needed to make this scene a reality.
The App Store, obviously, for drivers and riders to both get the app quickly, broadband internet, and the GPS accessibility via API, and that was well served through the cloud.
So in March 2009, Uber, originally known as UberCab, was born. Okay, so the first thing they had to do was recruit drivers of limousines and black luxury cars, because it was initially supposed to be this super elite black car service, not the peer-to-peer ride-sharing platform that we know today. While they were recruiting drivers, they were also building the first version of their app, which was very basic. You would send a text message to the app, which was then actually received by the co-founders themselves, who would call the drivers that they recruited and send one of them to you. It got you from point A to point B with a text message. That's it. This is a really important lesson for founders, to always start with an MVP, or minimum viable product, which means building the absolute simplest version that works. We're talking days or weeks to build it, not months. Don't fall into the trap of trying to build a perfect product from day one. UberCab publicly launched in SF in May 2010, and in October 2010, they raised $1.25 million in seed funding, led by First Round. Just a few days after closing their round, the SF Transit Authority ordered Uber to cease and desist, saying that their operation was illegal and not complying with the regulations of the taxi system. In response, Travis dropped cab from the name and said that they're not a taxi company, they're a technology company, so those rules don't apply to them.
So it wasn't quite as cut and dry in terms of violating the law or not violating the law. It was like the laws were just written in a time where these capabilities weren't existent, and here shows up Uber, a service that drivers and riders alike really wanted to engage in. What right is it of the government to sort of say, no, this shouldn't exist?
In February 2011, they raised their Series A round, led by Benchmark. In December 2011, they raised their Series B round, led by Menlo Ventures, and they went into full-scale mode.
The company was in 4 cities and was just a black car service. The GMV at the time was about $1 million a month, 80-20 split between the drivers and themselves. So their contribution margin after they paid everybody to be out on the streets was essentially zero. What was super interesting was, they were growing really fast, and people absolutely loved the service. So despite what at the time seemed like a nosebleed valuation of $290 million, we decided to go ahead and lead the round.
But in May 2012, Lyft entered the marketplace. This led them to launch UberX in order to compete in peer-to-peer ride-sharing, not just as a black luxury car service. And with this, in 2013, they were able to raise another Series C round, a whopping $363 million, led by Google Ventures and TPG. It was the biggest deal Google Ventures had ever done. And they launched UberEats thereafter too. But things got ugly starting in 2014, engaging in just plain unethical behavior. One of the first issues was a secret software they launched called Greyball, which they used to locate and avoid government officials in cities where Uber wasn't legal yet. And they developed yet another secret software called Hell to spy on and track down Lyft drivers to convince them to switch over to Uber. They also breached Apple's privacy policy. Tim Cook threatened to kick them off the App Store. And if this wasn't enough, Uber clashed with Google too. Google sued them for stealing trade secrets related to their autonomous driving technology. And finally, there was numerous reports about sexism and sexual harassment, just an overall toxic culture within the company. And unfortunately, many of these incidents didn't actually surface until years later. By 2017, word finally started to get out about Uber's malpractices. Travis was forced to resign as CEO by his investors and board.
So founder transitions are never easy, especially when companies are doing well. But in this case, the investors seemed to felt that it was in the best interests of Uber and serving its mission to find a new leader. So in 2017, we hired Dara Khosrowshahi. Under his leadership, the company has joined the S&P 500, has a market cap of $140 billion. And it's been a real privilege to see him, grow the team, grow the business, and lead with a lot of integrity, which, would not have been possible with all the efforts of Garrett and Travis, the whole crew that got him to that point.
Thanks, Sean. That's the story. And if you found this valuable, please follow me for more content like this, and let me know in the comments which company you'd like to hear about next. Bye.